races down, 1 race to go here at the first event of GB4 in 2025, partnered by the BRDC. We're at Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. We've had 2 absolutely scintillating races so far. 1 more race remaining, and it is the infamous reverse grid race. Slight change to the format as of this year, but we'll touch on that later on. My name is Piers Prior. I'll be bringing you through all of the build-up for the 3rd race of the weekend, that reverse grid race. But before we get into the build-up for that race, why don't we look back at round number 2 from earlier this morning.
Highlights from race number 2 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. A poor start from Jack Taylor on the front row, would drop back behind Ari Bansal, who would also go on the attack for the race lead, straight around the outside of his teammate Isaac Phelps, and it was Ari Bansal to take over the race lead, heading down through the Craner curves. However, his teammate Catullus was able to work his way through and make it a 1-2-3. Holly Mile would go for a bit of a spin at turn 1, and then Bostangiev, a bit of a spin coming out of the old hairpin, losing a front wing as well. Alex O'Grady trying to battle also with his teammates Meg and Bruce, and of course Callum Baxter for the Graham Brunton Racing team. And Alex O'Grady working his way up from the rear end of the field. Baxter also trying to battle Meg and Bruce to the outside, nearly clipping the rear wheel of Baxter in a brutal battle, as Thomas Ingram Hill was also sending one down the inside, would make a move on Alex O'Grady, trying to work his way up the order, and then would get alongside Dia Nareen. Dia Nareen would make contact with Ingram Hill, sending them both off and dropping them right the way down the order. An excellent performance though from Bansal to take victory, with Phelps coming across the line in 2nd and Catullus in 3rd. A brilliant performance from the elite team. All 3 of them separated by just 5 seconds. It was a 4-second victory for Bansal, but at points in that race, that gap was over 6 seconds. An incredible performance from him after dropping right the way down the order yesterday. Catullus then in 3rd position, obviously Isaac Phelps in 2nd. Then we get the 2 hill speed, Junkos and Ginchard. Ginchard did get past Jack Taylor on the last lap of the race, so Taylor dropped down to 6th from the front row. Wilson was able to reach the checkered flag today, so finishes inside the top 10 in 7th. Then we get another position 8 for Alex Berg, who looked pretty strong for the GBR team. Then we've got Dayton Coulthard and Ava Dobson inside the top 10. Again, great drive for the Arden driver. Howman we saw plenty of. O'Grady we saw plenty of. From 25th to 15th yesterday was impressive. From 25th to 12th, even more of a step up. Incredible drive from the Irishman. Then Baxter in 13th position. Pribble, I think, had a bit of a spin, or at least went off quite deep at the penultimate corner earlier on in the race. Might have been the final corner as well. Magnussen in 15th position with McLean, then Bruce. Dia Nareen dropping down the order to 18th with no front wing, and then Nye Evans and of course McDaniel inside the top 20. Issues for all these lot with Mile, then Watkins, Hilton, Bostangiev and Ingram Hill retiring from the race.
What a great race that was, round number 2 for Elite Motorsport, locking out that podium. I'm going to bring in Max Maserati, former GB3 and GB4 driver once again. Max, all the more impressive Elite's job they did, considering how close it's been throughout testing and in qualifying.
Yeah, really impressive job from them. You know, we spoke before that race and we said that they've been looking the most consistently strong out of everyone, and you know, they've really delivered in that race. Really strong 1-2-3, very impressive performance by the race winner as well, because he actually managed to pull away from the other 2 cars. And that's really good moving forward for them, because they have all that really great data to, you know, keep the drivers moving forward and pushing themselves on for the rest of the year.
Of course, Max, you're working with one of the team's driver coach for Graham Brunton Racing this year, which is why we have to let you go halfway through this pre-show. That's absolutely fine. Max, of course, your drivers, they seem pretty pumped up, ready for this weekend. It seems like not too many people are actually discouraged by the fact that Elite was so dominant. I think it's been so close that a lot of the teams think that if they get things right in qualifying, they'll have an equal opportunity for good results throughout the season. Yeah,
I mean, for Graham Brunton themselves, it's their 25th year racing, so really great for them. And the drivers are extremely pumped. Alex Berg starts on pole for this the reverse grid race, which I think will be absolutely fantastic because of how close it is. And it'll be interesting to see how the elites act in a little bit of dirty air now, because they've had a lot of clean air amongst themselves. It's just so tight, the grid. Like, it's so competitive. I think that everyone in this who's been reversed in this reverse grid race is going to be thinking, I could have a chance here.
Absolutely, that's what we like. We want it to be close. We want it to be competitive. With such a big grid of drivers, that's why all these drivers join us. They want good competitive racing. Some drivers, of course, we've spoken to our drivers in the top 3 after that race. We also caught up with some of the drivers that didn't quite make it on the podium from last time out, starting with Josh McLean. Josh McLean, a new driver to GB4 in 2025, along with a new team, Pace Performance. It's been a good start. You've been pretty busy on circuit.
Yeah, very, very busy. A lot of tough racing out there. The grid is so competitive because the times are just so close together. We're struggling for pace at the minute. A couple of issues with the car that we can't figure out what it is. Makes it really, really hard. We're just trying to maximise what we can at the minute and just making the most of overtakes when and where we can get them, which I think have been pretty good. Hard racing, as I say, but it's motorsport, so you've got to get stuck in.
You're saying you're struggling with pace. You've been pretty much in the battle, of course. It's being so close between the front and the mid pack. It must make it hard to find those extra couple of tenths.
Yes, it's really tough, and obviously a couple of tenths make a big difference on starting grid, and starting right at the back in 20th it makes what we can. It's just I know we can do better, and I know that I can do better, which is why it's a bit frustrating, but we'll get there.
Got a new team. You're new to the championship. Of course, we've still got one more race left to go this weekend. What can you get from that final one?
I mean, we'll see. Hope for a really good start. Same in race 1. We went up to P12 from 20th in the first lap, which is really good. And then we'll see what pace we've got in the race. And then if we have to defend for the whole thing for our lives, then that's what we'll do. I mean, but yeah, we'll just do our best to stay as high as we can and maintain positions that we get.
Enzo, that looked like an entertaining race from the cockpit from that one. Talk to us about that race from your point of view.
Yeah, quite a struggle in the start, I would say. Fall back to like P13 when I locked up into the chicane and hit the blue curbs and had a little bit of a flying moment. So yeah, quite a struggle, but getting back to P11, really not what we wanted, but the speed was quite okay actually. So yeah, I'm happy with race 1, so I bring that with me.
Absolutely. So you've got 2 races under your belt so far. What can you take into the 3rd race this weekend?
Of course, you learn a lot in the races. Like one race is like 3 practice sessions, so you learn a lot, and I have experience from the starts and everything now. So it feels good starting. I think it's P4 in the 3rd race. So yeah, hopefully it will be a good race.
Starting P4, I assume your hopes for a podium?
Yeah, of course, that's the aim. I think we have the pace, especially if we compare to the guys in front of us. So yeah, that's the aim.
Brilliant. And what are your hopes for the season as a whole this year?
Of course, just to just get experience, and of course it's nice to have a good result. But it's my first season, and it's many new challenges. So just a good result is my goal.
Enzo, thanks for chatting to us. We'll see how you get on from 4th place in the 3rd race this afternoon.
Thank you.
Ava, first of all, welcome back. Of course, you sampled GB4 last year, but back for a proper campaign this year. How is it to be racing full-time this season?
It's really great. I'm really happy to be participating with Arden, of course. You know, they do a lot for me, but I'm really excited to race in the field because it's so competitive and the pressure is like a lot. So I am really grateful to be back full-time.
And
do like rolling starts, and those are, yeah, but
a different kettle of fish entirely. Right, okay, let's talk about the racing so far this weekend. We've had 2 races down already. You've been right in the thick of the action. It looks like it's been good fun out on circuit.
yes, definitely. The competition is super high and everyone's really competitive. They're all defending for the spot, you know, so it's really good to like have that experience with everyone, but I'm feeling the pressure a little bit.
Feeling the pressure, what is that? Is that self-applied?
Yes, definitely.
What can you get from this final race of the weekend, and also what are you looking for the rest of the year?
I'm definitely just looking to continue my growth in driving and character, so for next year and everything that we will continue to do, but yeah.
We look forward to that. Good luck in race 3, and we'll see how we get on.
Thank you.
Great to catch up with those drivers. Max, we've spoken a lot about the fact we've got a lot of drivers on the grid this season, a lot of new drivers, but also some returning drivers. We spoke about Jack Taylor on one of the previous shows. Ava Dobson there, she joined us at Silverstone and Donington last year. Struggled a little bit, but it seems like there's a bit of a trend. The returning drivers have made a big step over the winter, and Ava especially has definitely taken a step forward.
Yeah, I think, again, one of the great things about this new car, I think it's friendlier for those younger drivers trying to make that step up. And she has been driving really, really well. You know, when I'm standing watching my guys, you know, we're looking to compare with other drivers, and she just looks so clean out there. That's the thing. There's you can see there's a high ceiling with her performance, because whenever she's coming through a corner, not only is she fast, but she does it in such a smooth, clean manner.
Yeah.
And she's like that consistently. You never sort of see her do a corner and then the next lap she takes a different line, or she's missing her braking or anything like that. She's just really clean, really nice every lap, and you can build on that.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to see that the younger drivers that we've seen in the championship, and also the young drivers now, we'll see them develop not only as drivers but as young people, young athletes, as they move up through the championship this year and then on to bigger and better things. And that's one of the cool things about this, entry-level single-seater slicks and wings racing. We've chatted a lot about the drivers, of course. We've spoken a lot about the new car in the previous 2 shows, but let's have a look at the new car for 2025 in a bit more detail with Lewis McGlade.
The GB4 Championship introduces a new car to the series for 2025, the Tartas MSV GB4025. The Tartas MSV GB4025 previously raced in the GB3 Championship between 2022 and 2024, so it's already a hugely proven and well-received machine with excellent levels of reliability and parity. With the all-important Halo cockpit protection device, upgraded safety standards all round, and a revamped technical package. To meet GB4 requirements, the car has single-plane front and rear wings, a naturally aspirated 2-litre 4-cylinder mount tune engine mounted to a 6-speed SADEV gearbox with paddle shift, bodywork revisions, as well as additional safety upgrades including improved side impact and rollover protection. And that's the new GB4 car for the 2025 season.
Thank you very much, Lewis, and also thank you very much to Max Maserati. He has once again had to leave us to go and fulfil his duties as driver coach for Graham Brunton Racing as we head very closely very close now to the start of the third GB4 race this weekend. We've spoken about Jack Taylor making a step forward with Max just a moment ago, and I actually caught up with Jack Taylor ahead of his good qualifying session yesterday. Jack Taylor, great to have you back in the championship in 2025. Of course, you joined us last year. How's the winter been for you?
Yeah, it's been good. A lot of practicing on the sims, but not much driving for me though, but yeah, it's good.
But you're back again for another challenge, of course. 9th in the championship last year, won podium. This year, I feel like you've definitely taken a step forward based on your pace in practice.
Yeah, I think I've definitely improved a lot this year. Just coming in, I was straight in. I was a lot quicker than last year, and yeah, first qualifying was going well. So yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about qualifying. Second fastest, only a 10th or so away from pole position. Oh, so close, but you must be happy with that.
Yeah, I'm very happy. It was the grid's so close, so yeah, it's quite good getting a P2 still. Obviously, I had a couple of mistakes that I could have gone pole, but yeah, I'm still happy with P2 though. Yeah.
Classic racing driver. You said there, only a 10th away, but there was some time in it. What do you think the difference has been this year, coming into this year compared to last year? Because as I mentioned, you're right at the front this year.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know. I came in this year just driving a lot better. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe practicing on the sim a lot in the off season, but yeah.
And how are you finding the new car for this 2025 season?
Yeah, I really like the car. I think it's a lot better, a lot more fun to drive. Yeah, I think it's a little bit quicker at some tracks, and yeah, I really like it though.
The GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, has attracted returning drivers, as Jack Taylor we heard from a moment ago, but lots of new drivers and new teams, including ADM Motorsport, who are fielding a one-car team at the moment, with Jason Pribble, who's come all the way from the States to race in the championship this year, and I also caught up with him before qualifying yesterday. Down at Team ADM now with Jason Pribble, another one of our drivers from abroad. Jason, tell us about where you've come from and your racing experience up until now.
Yeah, so it's been, I think this is my 5th year in car racing, although I should know that by now. And 2nd year internationally racing in the UK. Last year I raced Formula Ford with United Formula Ford and made the move up to F4 this year.
You say you'd raced in it. You raced fairly successfully as well, 2nd in the championship, I believe, taking a lot of podiums and wins. Is that going to help you into this season in GB4?
I think getting used to the car has been one step of the process, a lot of testing, and that's been the biggest jump so far. For me, I think the Formula Ford will translate most when it comes to the race time. The starts, the racing, the passing, the battling that happens in Formula Ford is incomparable to any Formula I think out there, and so that's where I think I'll excel the most right now.
And you've had a lot of single-seater experience, not just in Formula Fords in the UK, but also in the US as well.
Yeah, my first season in cars was actually a single-seater, similar to this, but a little bit older spec and higher downforce, just a different configuration. I've spent a lot of time in Formula Fords as well, and just some other prototype-esque cars and testing like that in USF 2000 machinery as well.
It's a big step for an American driver to come across the pond here to the UK. It's your 2nd year doing so. What attracts you over here?
Yeah, it's certainly a big commitment, but it feels like the right decision to make every time I look at this. The professionalism around the paddock is one thing, and then the competition that you see, especially in GB4 this year, is unmatched. And if I'm going to be racing in anywhere, it's going to be the most competitive place, and I feel like it's GB4 right now.
So it's clearly a good decision about your career as well. And let's talk about your career. Have you got aspirations to race anywhere in the future?
Absolutely. My main goal, definitely as a first-generation driver, is to make a living out of racing, and part of racing GB4 is being a part of the British GT package and being part of the paddock that surrounds all the big teams in England, and showing my strengths and showing my ability. So wherever I end up next year, I'm sure it's going to be as a result of what I do this year.
Well, we look forward to seeing now. What sort of strengths do you think you have as a driver?
I think my aggression, but my ability to analyze a lot of drivers comes forth. It's been a aspect of my driving ever since I've been racing karts. I think while I'm working on it in this car, my braking has always been a strength. I've been pretty good in heavy braking zones, so once I get this car figured out, we'll see that as well.
So we'll see some good lunges from a fairway back then.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Jason, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was Jason Pribble racing for ADM. Interesting to hear about his story. He's getting ready, as you can probably hear the engines firing up as we're moments away from the start of the third round of the GB3 Championship this year. We're here at Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. I've mentioned it a number of times. Great circuit to go racing. So let's hear a bit more about the circuit in a lot more detail with Lewis McGlade, and then we'll ride on board with that man, Jason Pribble.
So then to Donington Park on the Leicestershire-Derbyshire border. Of course, some of the most fantastic corners in British motorsport. Redgate, the run down the Craner curves, up through the old hairpin, overtaking opportunities at McLean's and Coppice, and that little back stretch down towards the Fogarty S, and then into the tight hairpin at the Melbourne hairpin. Of course, that final turn at Goddard's also is an excellent overtaking opportunity, back onto the Wheatcroft straight and down towards turn 1 at Redgate. One of the most notable features around this circuit is, of course, the elevation over the 2.5 miles, around about 4 kilometres around the circuit. It sees 35.8 metres of elevation, most notably down at the old hairpin as we climb back up the hill around the 12 turns. So much great racing can happen here at Donington Park.
We start the lap of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit completely flat out over the start-finish line. Moving over to the left-hand side for turn 1, Redgate, braking using all of the track on the entry. Tip it in early, use the curb at the apex and watch out for track limits on exit. Your lap times will be deleting qualifying, and do that too many times in the race, you'll be expecting a penalty. Path of least resistance down Craner curves. A lot more undulation here than it looks like on the camera. To the left-hand side to open up the old hairpin. Nip the curb on the apex. Watch out for track limits again on the exit. Very fast, very committed corner there. Completely flat out now as we travel uphill towards Schwantz curve, which is just setting you up for the entrance of McLean's. Right at the middle of the corner, the car goes light, and we're again watching out for track limits at the exit of the corner. All the apex curb on the left to open up Coppice, curb in the middle, run the wall of death around the outside, car goes light as the car goes over the crest at the exit. Flat out moving to the right-hand side as we head towards the Fogarty S's now. A lot faster than it looks. Looks tight, but you can carry a lot of speed into here. Brake on the curb. First apex left, over the curb on the right. Watch out for track limits. Those curbs are very nasty if you hit them at the wrong angle. Final sector now, 2 hairpins remain. First down to Melbourne hairpin. Lock up ahead, but Jason here makes the apex nicely, gets a good exit, straight line towards the curb on the exit. Completely blind the final corner as we brake for Goddard's. Use the curb on the right-hand side to open up the apex. Tip it in early, try not to lock that inside front wheel. Use the curb on the apex, completely flat out to the curb at the exit for a lap of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit in GB4. Tension is building here down on the assembly area, ready for the third round of the GB4 Championship. The reverse grid race, and it's a slight alteration to the reverse grid format from last year. We had a full reverse grid previously, now with an extended grid of 25 cars, top 12 reverse, which puts the number 98 of Alex Berg on pole position. Alongside him on the front row will be the 8 of Thomas Ingram Hill. Lewis McGlade will run you through the whole grid, but Leon Wilson, a returning driver, in third place, the number 27 for Arden Racing, will be in third place. He'll certainly be one to watch after a poor start to round number 1, but the whistle has been blown. That means we are going racing for the final time this weekend. The reverse grid of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC.
The first reverse grid race of the season is ahead of us, and of course it's the last race here at Donington Park, the season opener of 2025. We've had 2 excellent races leading up to this point, some fantastic battling up and down the order, and of course plenty of drama. Elite's taken both victories in the races so far, one from Isaac Phelps and one from Ari Bansal. Can they sweep the weekend? Can Catalyst maybe move up the order and take another podium? We'll have to wait and see. You can see the circuit here if you haven't joined us for the weekend thus far. We'll talk you through it. Obviously, you've got places like Redgate for the overtakes, the Melbourne hairpin as well. It is a fantastic circuit for racing. We'll see plenty of side-by-side as well, down those iconic Craner curves into the old hairpin. It is a lot of undulation around here. That entire drop from Redgate at turn 1 all the way down through the Craners before it all gets picked back up the hill as well. It is a brilliant track for racing, and it's brilliant weather as well. If you've joined us for the weekend, you've seen the blue skies and beautiful sunshine out there, and of course a little bit of the wind. You can see the flags there on the right hand side of your screen blowing quite quickly. It has been quite windy all the way through the weekend. One thing though that would help the drivers to a certain degree is the wind's always been blowing in the same direction. When it changes, that can become problematic, but this weekend it's always been a tailwind down the start finish straight into turn 1. So obviously the big talking points with the domination of Elite. As far as I've gone through all the previous races that I could see, it does seem as though that was the first ever 1, 2, 3, 4 18 in GB4's history. Elite sweeping race 2 with a fantastic performance. Alex Catalyst doing a great job to get back-to-back podiums. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's talk about the grid though. Alex Berg on the reverse grid pole. Thomas Ingram Hill, who has had some great racing throughout this weekend. Berg has also shown some good speed, double top 10s in the previous 2 races. Leon Wilson's also had some very good speed to work for the order. Missed out, of course, in race 1 with the spin late on. Enzo Hallman will be starting alongside on that second row. Luke Hilton and Alex Catalyst poised potentially to take 3 podiums from 3 races. We'll have to wait and see. Bostanchiev had a spin in the previous race down here at the old hairpin. Leandro Juncos has had some great pace and overtakes. Was the only one to really challenge Elite in the race earlier today. Daniel Ginchard and Ari Bansal. Bansal being the winner earlier on today after issues in race 1 as well. Can he take another victory? From 10th, there'll be a tall order. Jack Taylor, a bit of disappointment with his pace to drop back in the previous race, having qualified in the front row. Of course, the double pole sitter this season, Isaac Phelps, will start alongside in 12th after the reverse grid. Ava Dobson and Callum Baxter in 13th and 14th position. Of course, Callum Baxter for the Graham Brunton Racing team, starting around his teammate, of course, and they were all battling with each other. Dayton Coulthard in 15th position with a top 10. Then in 16th position, it was Mehdi Noreen. Then, of course, we've got Jason Pribble and Luca Magnussen in 18th position. Then it's Mehdi Noreen after a penalty from the previous race. Apologies. Josh McLean in 20th position. And then, of course, the final few rows. Holly Mile, Nye Evans in 22nd position. Then it's Lily Watkins, Caitlin McDaniel, and, of course, in the final and 25th position, it is, of course, O'Grady, who has shown some good speed this weekend. We'll keep our fingers crossed that hopefully we'll see him on the grid at Silverstone, not have the issues in qualifying like he had, and can show that speed and well, maybe go after a couple of big results. He's definitely got a podium in him.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance of that one. It would be good to see him get a podium in this reverse grid. Of course, we love the reverse grid, Lewis. Always an attraction of the GB3 and GB4 Championships, of course. Allows the drivers to show off their pace in qualifying in race 1 and race 2, and then their overtaking prowess in race 3, with bonus points for every position you move forward. So, obviously, this first reverse grid, there's going to be a bit of jostling for position. I think the most important thing, get off that line well. That's all that's going through your head as a driver, surely, at this point. The 2 most important things, I'd say, on a race weekend as a young driver to learn are qualify well, get off the line well. If you can do those 2, it's kind of like 80% of the job done. Right. The rest, of course, is pace and consistency and not making mistakes. But if you can do those 2, then you're going to be in a good position. Looks like there's a bit of a gap between 3rd and 5th. So either the blue Douglas car is back in its box, or our 3rd place driver Leon Wilson is a long way forward. We'll keep an eye on that because the red lights go on. We're about to go green for the 3rd time this weekend.
18 minutes ahead of us. Race 3 in GB4 is underway in 2025. It's a good start for our race leader and reverse grid pole sitter in Berg. Racing down towards the first corner. That red and white car will hold right. Wilson up into 2nd position, I believe, as we work our way through the opening corner and then down through the Craner curves. So already a couple of movements happening in the background, including, of course, O'Grady's already picked up a few positions as they work their way now down through the Craner curves. But importantly for Berg, it was a good race start, a good launch. They're side by side here as Bastantjev trying to make some progress, but he's losing out of the corner where, of course, he spun earlier.
Yeah, look, that's contact, unfortunately, there. That's a 9 of Megan Bruce's front wing. Sorry, Megan Bruce's rear tyre was hit with the front wing. I didn't catch the number of that car, but Megan Bruce got a puncture. That'll probably be the end of her competitiveness in this race, but it's really not a very good start from Thomas Ingram Hill, though it looks like it's actually regained a little bit of ground in there. You can see Megan Bruce dropping down the order with that puncture. 3 wide on the exit of Coppice.
Yeah, I think that might have been McLean in the white and green pace performance car, trying to get all the way around the outside of all that. Had Nye Evans in that distinctive black and green in the middle as well, as they'll all try and go single file, I believe, here working through the fog at ES. There was a big up and under coming from Isaac Phelps, and one of the KMR sport cars has gone straight on. I don't know which one that was.
That was Megan Bruce. She's struggling to get the car stopped with that puncture, but also Ava Dobson losing her front wing. So I think, more contact.
Phelps.
Yeah, Phelps getting pushed wide. A race 1 winner, basically on the grass, almost dead last at the end of this first lap. So yeah, a lot more drama in the start of the race in this 3rd race.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's a bit of a tricky start for your championship leader, Isaac Phelps, having a bit of a moment there and a bit of contact. We expect these races to get a little bit more elbows out, to get a little bit more argy-bargy, and that's certainly what we are seeing. Here comes the move around the outside. Junkos trying to get past there and move his way up the order, getting past Hallman, and does indeed clear the move. Of course, Junkos in the black and red Hillspeed car that's had really good speed this weekend, and he's been able to use it on the overtakes.
Been very impressed by Junkos this weekend. Not a huge amount of single-seater experience, a little bit, but not in this car especially. But that was brilliant tactical driving going into turn 1. He squeezed Hallman to the inside of the road, as we see the 35. That is Phelps. Unfortunately, things going bad to worse. Front wing damage.
Yeah, exactly. That I don't know whether that front wing had happened when he'd been sent off at the penultimate corner, but certainly did have some. The front wing is no longer really attached to that car. Got a couple of cars as well in pit lane.
That's Megan Bruce just left the pit, so she's staying on the lead lap for now, but unfortunately not a great first weekend of 2025 for Megan Bruce, the returning driver for team champions KMR Sport. But I was just talking about Junkos' move into turn 1 there, Lewis, before we had to talk about some more drama. Really good driving there. He was pushing the Enzo Hallman to the inside, and then just before the braking zone darted to the outside and managed to then cause Hallman to have a narrower entry, which allowed him to swoop around the outside. Great move, as we see drivers just trying to get in each other's mirrors down the back, as we now see the 32. That is Luke Hilton going up the inside of the 77 of Junkos, or is Junkos attacking the back of Hilton?
Yeah, indeed, as Junkos is going on the attack. Like I say, Hilton there in that blue car, left-hand side of your screen, trying to defend, but the speed coming off that corner. Clearly, it was a very, very good exit there from Junkos. Got that car hooked up beautifully in the red and black Hillspeed. You can see how much he's using there on the exit of the corner, because the car was sliding along. He is confident with the loud pedal there. He is pushing that throttle pedal as hard as it can go as he's sliding and drifting the car out of the corner. It's beautiful to see.
Yeah, great car control, but also great race tactics. We've seen it 2 laps in a row now into turn 1. Slightly different manoeuvres this time. Junkos was able to get a better exit out of the last corner, got completely ahead of Hilton by the time we got to the braking zone at Redgate, but he made sure that he was clear and then jinked in front of Hilton to deter Hilton from diving back up the inside and retaking that place. So yeah, been very impressed with the racecraft of Junkos so far this season. He's a very smart young guy. He's slightly older than some of the other drivers. I think he's 18 or 19 years old. Of course, this championship,
ancient.
Yeah, ancient compared to some of the 15-year-olds we have in this series.
Well, we've got Isaac Phelps here coming out of the pit lane, having repaired the front wing. Did have another car in the pit lane, and that was Ava Dobson in the red and white Arden car. Big lock up there for our race leader Berg, coming down into the hairpin, the Melbourne hairpin. Obviously got the car stopped all right, but he's starting to feel the pressure from Wilson, who coming into this race was actually one of the drivers I was looking at. Has made some great progress through this weekend. Yeah,
further in the back of shot, there's fighting between Callum Baxter and the Fortec car. That must be Jack Taylor, the 50 and the 45. 50 being Taylor and 45 Baxter. But at the front of the field, Leon Wilson closing down to Berg.
Yeah, really flying. There we go, the battle between the two elites as well, the back end of the top 10. Catalyst, the lead of those in the 51. Of course, Bansal there in 10th position at the moment has made no progress in this race thus far. Catalyst has actually, Catullus rather, has dropped back through this race, unfortunately, despite having such good speed, had 2 podiums coming into this. This race is not going so well for Elite, coming fresh off of a 1-2-3.
No, absolutely not. Of course, they were 1-2-3 and a pretty strong showing in the first race as well. Clearly having good pace in clear air, but maybe the drivers just not having got the best of their machinery in dirty air, or maybe the tactical issues, or they're just not quite up to speed with the tactics. But of course, all 3 of those drivers fairly young. That's Dayton Coulthard leaving the pits there, so he must have had an issue, potentially front wing. Didn't see what the cause of that was at this stage.
Yeah, I believe then, I think it's at least 4 cars have been into the pit lane. You've had Coulthard, you've had Phelps, you've had Bruce, and you've had Dobson all return into the pit lane in the early stages of this race. We're expecting this one to still be 13 laps, so there's still plenty of time. 12 minutes left to go on the clock, as there is Jack Taylor defending from Callum Baxter. Baxter, by the way, on this lap has set the fastest first sector of the race. There's clearly plenty of pace in Baxter's Graham Brunton racing car. Baxter being in the 45, the one closest to our screen, the white and red car behind the red and white car. However you want to piece those two apart.
Yes, the more white car in front of the shot there, number 50, that is Taylor. 45 that we're looking at right now, Baxter for Fortec and Graham Brunton Racing respectively. Max mentioned something on the grid there. It is 25 years of Graham Brunton Racing. Yeah. They've got a little sticker commemorating that on the side of their car. So great to see such an experienced team choosing the GB4 Championship, as they have done in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, they've been in the series since its very start. They've always had slightly different liveries season on season, but of course the Graham Brunton Racing team, I distinctly remember it was the Laser Tools livery in that first season that we did back in 2022. Like I said, they've been a solid team. They've had a lot of talent in that team.
Taking podiums.
This season, it does seem as though they are stronger than they've ever been. They've got 3 really good cars, 3 really good drivers, and they've set them up. They're a professional team to join. Either way, there's Ingram Hill, 3rd position at the moment in the white and red number 8 car. Feeling the pressure, Junkos making a move down the inside, coming into the Melbourne hairpin. Junkos in the 77, a little bit deep. Ingram Hill goes for a bit of a look to the inside, but Junkos has completed the move for the Hill Speed team.
Once again, great driving from Junkos. He saw that Ingram Hill went a bit wide through the Fogarty S's. Junkos got a good exit and then went diving down the inside as the Melbourne hairpin, side by side, 2 by 2 at the last corner. Is that Bansal that's made his way through, and Catullus? It is.
Yeah, indeed. And also you've had Ginchard as well in the red and black car there that's just come through, moving his way up now into 7th position on Hilton as well. So a little bit of progress. Again, the Hill Speed cars, we mentioned this particularly in Saturday's race. Their race pace, their long run race pace is really good.
I was chatting to Dan Ginchard actually after testing on Friday, and he did say that. He said, 1 lap pace is decent, but we're really looking forward to the races because we think that we can keep the tyre, we can get the tyre up to temperature, and then we can keep it there, and it's showing in this race. Race 2, actually, I thought Ginchard fell away in the mid part of the race, but then he came back at the end. But this race, slightly higher track temperatures. It's warmest it's been at any point this weekend so far, just at the start of this race. So the track temperature will be higher, makes it a bit easier to get the tyres into the temperature window. And potentially those Hill Speed cars will come on stronger at the end as the tyres start to go away, with all of these drivers now being on used tyres. At least 2 used tyres. Some of the drivers at the front may have chosen to take their 2 new in this one, as we see the 7 of Enzo Hallman getting past Ingram Hill. As it's the 2nd lap in a row that Ingram Hill's run wide through the chicane and lost a position.
Yeah, indeed. Just really struggling to get the car slowed down, it seems, at the moment for the Fogarty S is Ingram Hill. But like I say, losing a couple of positions there, it's not too bad. Bit of a battle in the background as well. The number 32 of Hilton trying to keep Bansal at bay. Bansal, who put on that great move at the start of race number 2 to go straight around his teammate Isaac Phelps to take over the race lead, and then absolutely dominated proceedings with some incredibly fast lap times, as it's Bansal on the outside in the yellow and black car trying to get a move on Hilton there, straight around the outside as he did on Phelps. Brilliant stuff. Once again, he's got such confidence to go around the outside of Redgate.
Rinse and repeat from the start of race number 2. Bansal around the outside of Redgate corner. Brilliantly done. Squeezed Hilton down at the apex. Hilton, fair play to him, gave Bansal room at the exit. Good. respectful driving between the two, but it is Bansal in the 46 yellow car that comes out on top, and now Catullus looking up the inside of Swanson's will be the outside for McLean's. Bit of team tactics going on there, potentially Bansal holding up Hilton in the middle of the corner. That could allow Catullus in the second of the yellow cars to go up the inside. Not quite this time. It is Bansal from Hilton from Catullus.
Can you really do team tactics in this? To clarify as well, if you joined us last season in GB3, which is obviously where these cars have come from, they did have team radios in GB3. They do not have team radios in GB4. Whilst they will be equipped with radios, that will be for race control communication only, not for team communication as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, as of next round. I think some of the cars might have it this weekend, but we'll have race control communication as of the next round, I believe. As we see, that is at the 45 of Baxter, looking on the back of Taylor, which is now on the back of Catullus. This 3-car battle's turning into a 5-car battle now as Taylor and Baxter join the party.
Yeah, indeed. I was bringing up that radio thing, by the way, because obviously it's quite hard then to organise your drivers and kind of try and get them to assist each other. That's why I said, I think in this, as much as, yes, sure, you're all teammates, you're all paying for your seat. You're all focused on yourself. Focus on what you're doing, as there goes the number 50 of Taylor, looking to the inside of Catullus, trying to get that move done at Redgate in his red and white Fortec car, but could not quite get through. Every man for themselves in the GB4 Championship. As much as there are team mates, as you mentioned, Lewis, definitely no in-between car team radios, and there's no ship-to-shore radios either between the teams and the drivers. However, Bansal may have potentially thought, you know what, if I can hold up Hilton a bit here, it would help my teammate, and I think he knows he is the fastest of those two drivers at the moment, given the pace in race number 1 and race number 2. We're cutting slightly back to the front of the field, where it is still Berg from Wilson and Junkos. Junkos, of course, has fought his way up onto the podium, and he's actually closing down that gap to the leaders. Yes, half a second nearly faster on that last lap Junkos was than Wilson, but we're looking at the 17 of Bostangiev, and the number 8, that is Ingram Hill, again, just not quite getting the chicane wrong, and that's leaving him very vulnerable into this final sector. He cannot find a rhythm through the Fogarty-esque in Ingram Hill. Thankfully, he's quite strong coming down to the Melbourne hairpin, but it's leaving himself wide open for anyone who's queuing up behind. First is Bostangiev, then a bit of a look to the inside from Ginchard in the number 49 Hill Speed car. There was a little bit of a look further back as well, was Baxter versus Taylor in those 2 red and white cars. The first one of those being Fortec, the second one of those being Graham Brunton Racing. Distinctive white and green there, the 17 of Bostangiev going out really wide in the entry. You're absolutely right. Ginchard looks down the inside, but because of how wide Bostangiev went there into Redgate, he was able to carry the speed through the corner and hold the position. Yeah, I think that was more of a sort of I'm here, Mr. Stefan Bostangiev, than an actual attempt at an overtake by Dan Ginchard. But we're looking at the back of 17. That is Junkos, who's closed up to Leon Wilson for second place, quite aggressively actually. That last lap 28.5 from Junkos, plays a 28.9 from Wilson in second place, so closing at a rate of nearly half a second a lap. Potentially Wilson just falling away a little bit at this late stage in the race. And more importantly as well, on that lap, Junkos actually set the fastest first sector of the race. Do remember seeing that on live timing. The fastest lap was held. I was going to talk about how Bansal did have the fast lap. I think Coulthard might be the... Oh, sorry, Isaac Phelps, of course, who we had down there, has taken it. Bansal could take all 3 fastest laps. As here comes Ginchard down the inside in the 77. Couldn't quite get that one stuck on the inside of Wilson. Wilson leaving just about enough room in case a little bit too deep where Ginchard went. Do you know what? That was a show of the experience of both Ginchard and of Wilson there. I think if that was 2 rookies, there potentially could have been contact. Wilson saw Ginchard going for the move and saw that Ginchard was at least somewhat committed, so just gave a car's width at the apex. Ginchard realised he wasn't far enough alongside to actually complete the move, so kept it tight, and they both raced on to fight another lap. Whereas, you know, a lot of young drivers, they'll go for a move and try and make it work regardless. But no, good showing of experience. Ginchard trying to force the issue, Wilson being wise to it. Berg also being running consistent lap times, probably not looking in his mirrors too much and keeping his eyes forward. 4 minutes left to go in the race from where we are. Should be 4 laps, well, 3.5 laps, depending on where you want to call it. It'll be 3 laps at the line though, as Wilson driving it in very hard. McLean's going a little bit sideways as Bostangiev. Wow, that was a big look down the inside from Ginchard in that red and black car, but now Ginchard is having to stare backwards at the bright yellow of Bansal, who's now right into the mix. Of course, the race 2 winner this weekend, Harry Bansal, trying to find a way through. Going to look to the outside coming here into the Fogarty, yes, but Ginchard covers it off beautifully. Oh, and straight on. I wonder if he's got a braking problem then, because that's Ingram Hill once again making a mistake down there.
I don't think he's got a braking problem, because he's actually looked pretty strong into both the Melbourne hairpin and Goddard's, but he just can't get the entry of Fogarty S's right for whatever reason. Clearly, maybe it's a bit more of a tailwind than we're expecting, but actually there's slightly less wind now than there was at any point, tailwind into Fogarty S. So just can't quite get the entry right there. Maybe we'll catch up with Tom Ingram Hill after this race and find out what the issue was there, but it's really costing him. It's been a place a lap for the last few laps, and unfortunately this lap, running wide there, has cost him 2 or 3 positions.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, it's very, very impressive what we're seeing here, but not so much, unfortunately, for Ingram Hill. But very impressive drive at the moment from Ginchard, working his way up the order. Of course, still picking his way through. I mean, look, again, the hill speeds have got great speed. We've seen that from Junkos, who runs up there in 3rd position. We're seeing that from Ginchard. The hill speeds looking like they potentially have maybe the best race pace of the field so far.
Yeah, if they can get their qualifying sorted out, they'll be strong, no doubt. Potentially, I think fast on one lap is still the elites, as Isaac Phelps is proving down at the back of the field. Fastest lap from Bansal in both race 1 and race 2. Of course, he was nowhere near the podium in race 1 after that first lap contact. But we're now looking at the 23 of Magnussen having the back of his car inspected by Jason Pribble in the 59 with the pink flashes.
I think he's got passed on this lap, because my live timing shows him the other way around. So Pribble's been passed by Magnussen. This is the battle for 15th position at the moment. And again, still every position is important. Of course, you always want to get yourself sorted. What's that Fox car going a little bit slow as well? Yeah. Going a lap. No, it wasn't going a lap down.
Yeah, that's the 88 of Caitlin McDaniel, I believe. She's just falling a lap down on this group. Is she falling a lap down? Or are we just catching the back of the group? Let me just look at light timing, figure out what's going on there, because this is just a battle further down the field. This is Isaac Phelps trying to fight his way through. I'm confused because Isaac Phelps, of course, came in the pits earlier on. So Isaac Phelps is carving his way through the back of the field. Caitlin McDaniel in the 88 white flashes Fox Motorsport car, and then Lily Mae Watkins in the number 15 for previous year's champions KMR Sport. But we've got a side-by-side battle down the crane occurs. Catullus on the left in yellow, and Hilton on the right in the blue. Side-by-side, it's going to be Hilton who comes out on top at the apex, but Catullus is going to get a good exit up the hill towards Schwanson McLean's.
Yeah, and Ingram Hill is going to be closing his way back into this and that red and white Fortec car directly behind, but it's the bright blue of Hilton going defensive a little bit here at McLean's. Catullus going to go for the up and under and probably try something into Coppice. It's such a tight line into this. Hilton pulls over one side of the road in that number 32 to try and fend him off. A little bit deep goes Catullus, but beautiful stuff between the pair of them onto the absolute limit of the race circuit. Right hand side then of your screen in the blue is Hilton. Left hand side is Catullus. Ingram Hill staring at all this, thinking maybe I'll go a little bit easier into the Fogarty S this time and see if I can maybe make a move out of it, because I can tell you something, Hilton's got a little bit too deep going into this, and Catullus is coming through. What's happened? It's Wilson, Liam Wilson, and of course Junkos.
Yeah, Wilson and Junkos. That suggests to me that potentially Junkos has gone for a move into the Melbourne hairpin, and there's probably been contact. That's purely conjecture on my part, but I think the evidence would suggest that. Luckily, looks like Wilson can get underway, but of course he's lost positions.
Yeah, and of course that means that Enzo Holman's going to be promoted up into 2nd position.
Wow.
And Bostanjiev is going to be promoted up into 3rd. So that battle that you can see there, the 17, the white and green, that is Bostanjiev.
So it is Junkos gone for a move. He's done. Yeah. He's done exactly what he's done a few times this race, but just gone in a bit deeper. And the thing is, Leon Wilson is more probably, travelling into that corner on the limit of grip than the cars he's gone past so far, because Wilson's pace is better. So Wilson's just gone that bit deeper than Junkos has expected. Junkos is completely committed to the apex. Just carried a bit too much speed. Wilson's given him what he thinks is enough space, but it wasn't quite as much at that point. So unfortunately, all the good work Junkos has done throughout this race has been undone by a slight misjudgment.
Yeah, indeed. So obviously, I mean, look, 9 times out of 10, you're the hero when you're going for those big moves. It only takes 1 time out of 10 for you to become the villain, and I think for Junkos, maybe that 1 time was just a little bit too many. Big dive, big aggression, but unfortunately it didn't work out. And for Wilson, that's the second race this round where he's had drama late on. For this drive, there's been no drama. It's been a fantastic drive. Graham Brunton Racing are going to come through the final corner with Alex Berg behind the wheel to take victory here at Donington Park in what has been a pretty dramatic final race of the weekend. Of course, Holman's going to come across the line in second place, and we wait for a little bit to see Bostandiev across the line as well in third. Side by side as Wilson's trying to work his way back up the order and try and grab something from this race as he will cross the line. I think he still finished in 7th place. He was going side by side with Hilton and he missed out. Whoa, big crash for Magnussen. Magnussen's been sent off into the barrier, and that'll be just before the line. Pribiel as well on the left-hand side. You've got Magnussen in the white and black car with the rear end and rear wing taken off. Pribiel there on the left-hand side of your screen, the one that was also in the barrier. So drama out through the final corner. You can see them both there. Well, we didn't have a single safety car over the entire weekend here, which I think is a general round of applause. All the drama always happened late on in the races, and boy, was there some drama this weekend. Absolutely incredible stuff. Great victories, of course, from Isaac Phelps and Ari Bansal earlier on in the weekend, but we all end, and the final drive we'll be talking about is Berg. Great drive, and I will say, really good drives so far this weekend. Let's see what's happened. So, I mean, from that one quick angle, you could say, for one thing, Pribiel's maybe not far enough alongside. I think that's one of the important things that a lot of people will lean on. But I've always said that even if a car is slightly there, you can't just crowd it straight off the road, because that's always going to happen. I'm not going to lay blame anywhere. I'm not race control. It's one of those ones where I think it's 50-50. You both could have done something about it. Race control, I'm sure, will look at it differently, and I might hand themselves out a penalty. But Magnussen, I think, might have been crowding a little bit too much there on the exit of the corner. Bit of a shame for them to end the weekend in such a way, but not everything can be a massive positive, like it's been for Elite for most of the weekend, and like it's been for Graham Brunton Racing, and of course Alex Berg in this race. Of course, I'm just going to double check, because I think he's started out the season with 2 9th place finishes, has Berg, because despite not qualifying, it's 2 8th place finishes, I'll correct myself, despite it not being like an amazing qualifying for Berg. I think it was 12th and 11th place. Was able to work himself inside the top 10 in both race 1 and race 2, and shown in this race, to piece it together, to take that victory and to start claiming some pretty hefty points. I mean, there's 20 points for a race victory in race number 3, of course. So, he's done a really, really good job to have progressed up the order. As we can see, some of the elite cars trying to, one of the elite cars there is trying to struggle their way in. Of course, that is Ari Bansal struggling his way into Park Ferme. That's a bit embarrassing, unfortunately. It's always, to be fair, it's something that you always get told about open wheelers, is they don't really have a very good steering range. Getting the lock on to actually get into a tight area. To put that into perspective, you just can't imagine it. You would not be able to reverse parallel park one of these cars, let me tell you that. You need assistance. You need someone pushing you around. They just don't have the lock to be able to do it. There's your race winner, though. The number 98, the Graham Brunton Racing car of Alex Berg into the pit lane. And again, it really was an amazing drive. Won by just over a second. Sure, you could maybe say was kind of gifted that gap of a lead courtesy of the incident that happened behind, but to be perfectly honest, was managing that gap to around a second anyway. For Holman to come through as well and sneak through all of that instant, I mean, look, it was amazing, and you can see how happy Berg is about it. Superb stuff. Got the balance to stand on the halo as well. Nice one. Of course, there is Max Maserati, someone who's knows a thing or two about taking many, many podiums in GB4. Was unable to take a victory back in 2022, though, on his way to 3rd in the championship. Of course, the driver coach at the Graham Brunton Racing team. The trio of Canadians that are their drivers. All 3 of them started the season in race number 1 inside the top 10. And of course, to end the first round with a victory, very nice indeed. Unfortunately, Dean Areen a bit further down the order for the team. Baxter just outside the top 10, but a brilliant drive. A second clear of Hellman. Bostandiev as well, really good drive onto the podium. We've seen the pace. You can see Piers Prior. He's ready to chat to him.
Alex, how does that feel? First win in the championship.
Oh, well, it's amazing. Leon Wilson really put me under pressure for a long time there. I was just hoping for a nice, boring race. It reminds me a lot of last year when I raced British F4 in the reverse grid race. I won it, but I got a 5-second penalty, so I got it taken away. So this is almost a complete, identical redemption to last year.
Absolutely. You did all the things right. Got away from the line, check. Fended off the early challenge, check. Didn't make any mistakes, check. No track limits, and you did it.
Oh, check, that's for sure. I'm so excited. I'm really happy. I'd like to thank Graham Brunton Racing and my partners Roden Liesenfeld, Road to Racing Canada, Atna Pharmaceutical Consulting. Last year for me it was really difficult, and I wasn't sure if I'd be back in the car again this year, but obviously I am, and I couldn't be more grateful for my supporters. And I only have budget for the first 3 races, but I'm really hoping to find some more budget for the last 4 remaining rounds.
We'd like to see some more of those big muscle celebrations the rest of the year, so we hope you get back on the go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, that's our winner, Alex Berg, for Graham Brunton Racing on their 25th anniversary. Well, I don't know if it's an anniversary, but 25th year of racing for Graham Brunton Racing. I'm going to grab a word with our second place driver, Enzo Hallman. Enzo, second place wasn't looking likely, but you'll take it, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, first weekend, so didn't think of this actually. We had quite bad pace in the practice days because first time here on the track. So yeah, to get a P2 is fantastic. Of course, yeah, quite lucky, but at the same time I knew that something was going to happen because, yeah, someone always sends it, and that was happened. So yeah, I'm really happy.
You've got to be in the right place to take those opportunities, I assume.
Yeah, it's quite nice and a fantastic weekend overall, and I want to thank Douglas Motorsport for amazing work with all the engineers and everything. They've done a great job, so yeah, I'm really happy.
Congratulations on your first podium in the championship, Enzo Hallman for Douglas Motorsport. And we'll grab a word with our third place driver, Stefan Bostangiev. Stefan, come this side for me, please. Stefan, we can hear the celebrations in the background, the team going mental, Graham Brunton Racing. But our third place driver for Pace Performance. First podium for Pace in the championship, your first podium in the championship. How does it feel?
Yeah, not a bad first weekend for my debut in single-seaters. You know, making the jump from sports car racing was very humbling. You know, I mean, those cars are based on BOP. Here it's all about the driver, you know, finding the grip, managing the tire throughout the stint, and I think we did that today. Of course, we got lucky with the incident in front of us. Yeah, I think coming into this weekend, I was using it as preparation for GB3 next month. So, I mean, every day we're just chipping away at it. You know, the specifics of single-seater racing, it is just so different to sports car racing. But yeah, I mean, a solid P3 podium on debut, and thank you to Pace Performance for supplying me with a good car for race 3.
And you've mentioned a couple of times, we caught up with you earlier in the weekend. You are looking ahead to a GB3 debut at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time. How prepared do you feel after this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, again, coming into this weekend, I wanted relevant track time, and this is what we got, relevant racing. So definitely a lot more prepared than I was coming into Thursday. Obviously, the GB3 car is a lot more downforce. You know, I'm coming from the Super Trofeo with you know, mainly mechanical grip. It'll be something to work on, but yeah, definitely positive after today.
Stefan, congratulations on your first podium in the championship. We'll see you back in a couple of weeks in the other faction of this championship, the GB3 Championship. I'm going to hand back to Lewis McGlade now as we run through the podium ceremony, and I'm sure we'll see some more guns from Alex Berg.
Yeah, Dean, he was not scared of showing off the muscles there, Berg, whilst standing atop the car. Obviously, great to hear from Bostangiev there, and of course, like you say, he's looking forward to the likes of GB3 when we go racing there at Silverstone. And I mean, the pace that you showed this weekend, pace has not been a problem for Bostangiev. Really looked strong earlier on in the weekend, and of course ended the weekend so strongly. The only real negative of the weekend for him was the spin coming out of the old hairpin in race number 2, where he was involved in an incident, lost his front wing as well, had to return to pit lane. Bit of a shame there for Bostangiev, but still, to take a 7th and a 3rd from the 2 results completed this weekend, really not a bad points haul. But I said for other teams that are looking more fully focused here in the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, Berg, Graham Brunton Racing, I mean, look, they'll take it to, don't get me wrong, I think there's a little bit of work that needs to be done, but knowing the pace of Callum Baxter and the pace of Dean Arena, who's shown this a little bit this weekend, and of course now the pace that we've seen for Berg, the chance of them getting some really good results as this season unfolds are very, very high. Onto the podium then, Bostandiev, the first driver to take to the 3rd position. Then, of course, it's Holman up onto the 2nd spot of the podium. And Alex Berg onto the top step. A lot of energy in Alex Berg, a lot of energy, and a very proud Canadian, rightly so. Of course, along with his teammates, Dean Arena and Baxter. Dean Arena ended up in 13th position, and of course, Baxter there in 11th. Good points haul for the Graham Brunton Racing team. Of course, they do need to score quite a lot to close down on Elite after that epic 1, 2, 3. But it won't be an Elite driver on the podium in all 3 races. Won't be an Elite driver winning all 3 races. That was very much turned on its head. Basically, on basically on lap number 1. Berg, they're very obviously happy celebrating with that podium. I mean, Bostandiev looks pretty calm and collected. He came into this with a job, focus, learned some open wheelers, coming from Super Trofeo racing, if you don't know, quite similar to a GT3, bit more downforce, they're a bit crazier, to be perfectly honest. On the right-hand side, though, the Snowco Fastest Lap of the Weekend Award, that one being for Ari Bansal, of course, set the fastest laps in race number 1 and race number 2. And of course, Isaac Phelps would set the fastest lap in race number 3. But I believe it was the lap set on his way to victory in the previous race. It might have secured the one. He might have actually done it in the clean air in race number 1 after losing his front wing and returning to pit lane. Either way, let's go highlights for the final race of the weekend. Highlights from race number 3 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. A great start from Berg, and a great start as well from Wilson, who was keeping him under pressure on the race down into the first corner, but Berg, straight around the outside, was easily able to hang on to the race lead. Everyone looking and jostling for their positions, including the 2 Douglas cars battling for 4th and 5th, and Hilton would come across in 4th. Bostandiev looking down the inside in the white and green pace performance car, was unable to do so before some slides in the background. Isaac Phelps, championship leader, losing his front wing earlier on in the race. He'd have to pit, have to repair that, and then would be charging his way back up the order, as Ava Dobson would also have a puncture, unfortunately. Junkos was making some big moves, getting past Ingram Hill on the run into the Melbourne hairpin, and all trying to chase down this driver here. After a big instant, Alex Berg would come through the final corner to take victory after some drama, and then Holman in 2nd, and Bostandiev would be in 3rd position. Ingram Hill having a few moments on the brakes, and then this moment from Junkos straight down the inside, making contact with Wilson and spinning Wilson around. Confirmed across the line, as there was a bit of drama as well. Magnussen and Pribiel both in the barrier. Of course, it was a dramatic final race. There was a lot of drama happening late on in that one, but Berg was so clear of all of that drama, just keeping his nose clean at the front of the field, a 2nd clear of Holman. Bostandiev there in 3rd position, with Ginchard in 4th. Bansal for Elite would at least finish in 5th position, with Catullus starting off the season with a double podium and a 6th place. That's not that bad indeed. Hilton, Wilson, Ingram Hill and Taylor would round out the top 10. The rest of the positions, Callum Baxter there in 11th position. O'Grady once again up to 12th position, as he did in the previous race. Either side of him is the Graham Brunton Racing cars. Dean Arena directly behind, of course, Baxter up ahead. Junkos dropping down after that instance with Wilson, down to 14th position. McLean there in 15th position with Evans, then Mile, then Coulthard, Phelps and McDaniel. The final few of those pitting late on early on rather, to repair their cars and focus on the charge late on. Then it's Watkins, Bruce, and of course that drama at the line. Magnussen and Pribiel into the barrier. Dobson also finishing a lap down. What an epic race. What a lot of fun, to be perfectly honest. We'll head down though to Piers.
Thanks very much, Lewis, for taking us through the highlights of that race, and also your wonderful commentary throughout the weekend of this first GB4 race weekend in 2025. That was a dramatic race with a lot of action going on, but the one constant was the Graham Brunton racing car of Alex Berg at the front of the field. And I think I can grab a word with Graham Brunton himself. Graham's over here. Graham, a brilliant result in race 3, especially considering it's 25 years of your own team.
Yeah. I've been working on racing cars a lot longer than that. Yeah. I started in 1979 as a kind of junior helper, but running a puck of business for 25 years, specialising in single-seaters, bringing young drivers on, and absolutely love it.
I can see that you're enjoying it. It's a lot easier to enjoy when you're winning races.
It is. Winning's obviously the cream, but just seeing drivers make progress is number one. Certain pressure running Alex because of his dad and his talents and abilities and successes. But we've run Alec before. We run him as a Team Canada scholarship at the Formula Ford Festival and Walter Hayes. So the kid's class, but you've got to give him a good car, and we've got a really, really tight-knit small team. There's only 2 full-time members in our team, and obviously we're based in the North Pole, so it has its challenges, but for sure that makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely, and you've got 3 strong drivers this year, of course, with the returning Callum Baxter, Mayo Giannarini, who's made a partial season appearance last year, back for a full season, I think, at this stage, and then, of course, Alex as well. It must be good to have 3 really good guys alongside each other.
It is, and as important as anything, they work together, they get on well together, which is absolutely key. I kind of pride myself on, I like to go racing with people I enjoy being with. We're a small team, as I said, and when it comes wholly commercial and you're taking drivers on board purely because they're customers, that feels too much like a job. There's a bit of passion. You need to have passion.
Absolutely. We enjoy your passion. Graham, thanks very much for catching up with us. Enjoy the celebrations for your race win this afternoon, and we'll see all of our GB4 drivers back in action in about 3 weeks' time for rounds 4, 5 and 6, and that's coming to you from Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, one of the best circuits in the world and in the UK. It's amazing to have, of course, the GB4 Championship visiting there. Don't forget also, it's not just GB4, it's GB3, rounds 1, 2 and 3 that weekend as well. It's scheduled to be an amazing weekend on the 25th and 26th and 27th of April. Make sure to join us then. The first time we're going to be live is about 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. So put a note in the calendar. Make sure you don't miss us then. 2:30, 26th of April. We'll see you then.